Hey guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing Sony's very first FE macro lens. It's a 90mm lens and it's just been released to the public. So let's take a closer look. Now I'm going to talk about picture quality, but first I just want to address the most obvious thing about this lens, and that is its size. Now you might be saying, Ted, why does that matter? Well, it matters because one of the biggest selling points of Sony's mirrorless cameras are their form factor. When you don't have a mirror and an optical viewfinder in a camera, you can make that camera a lot smaller. And this is a good thing, especially for certain types of photography. And up until now, Sony has made a number of full-frame E-mount lenses that are relatively small. And that's great, especially if you just want to grab the camera and go, or if you're worried about looking conspicuous, taking photos of people with a big clunky DSLR. But with this 90mm lens, especially on the A7 Mark II, which has a thicker body than the A7 and A7R and A7S, it feels a lot like you're just using a conventional DSLR, mirror and all. So let's talk about features. There's a lot I like about the design of this lens. First of all, there's a lot of metal on here, which is part of what makes it heavy, but it also makes it feel like a really high quality piece of gear, and I like that. The focus ring is great. It's graded, so it's nice and grippy. You can also use the focus ring to click it back and forth between autofocus and manual focus, which is really nice because, well, you're going to be using two hands with this camera, so your left hand is right there, and it's a lot easier to just do this and avoid having to go and click through settings on the back of the camera. It's also got this focus hold button on the side of the camera, which is great, but don't forget you can program it to do anything the other custom buttons can do, which can be really convenient. Also on the side here, you have a switch for Optical Steadyshot, which is Sony's version of IS, as well as a switch to limit the autofocus distance to certain parameters. And that's kind of useful for if you know, say you're going to be shooting portraits, you're going to set that to 0.5 meters to infinity, and that way the autofocus is going to be a little bit faster. The autofocus itself works well, but when I was testing it, I felt like it was a little bit slow. Unfortunately, I don't have another 90mm macro lens to compare this one to, and a number of reviewers online have actually said that the autofocus speed is fine, or it may even be faster than your average 90mm lens. So for now, I'm just going to have to take their word for it. It also supports a 62mm filter size, which is a little bit annoying for me because it means I'm going to have to go get a new ND filter. So let's talk about picture quality. Before doing any proper tests, I took this lens out to get a better feel for it, and I was very, very happy with the sharpness of the lens. And I'm used to shooting on the Sony FE 55mm lens, which is a super sharp lens. Another thing I noticed was the bokeh is super nice and creamy, and I saw one reviewer even compared it to the Leica Noctilux, which is really saying something. So I was pleased, but I still wanted to test it with a chart. I used one light positioned directly behind the camera, so symmetry shouldn't be an issue, and I used the Sony Play Memories app as a remote shutter, so there shouldn't be any camera shake. Center sharpness was great at all apertures. Symmetry was perfect as far as I can tell. I didn't notice any distortion on the test images. All the lines that were supposed to be straight were straight, even at the edges. I didn't notice any vignetting on the test images, so I bumped up the contrast and the levels to see if I could find any. Doing this, I was able to see vignetting wide open, and this got better as the aperture increased and was completely gone by f11. So should you buy this lens? Well, right now it retails for just under $1,100 US, and as of this moment, it is the only native macro lens for the Sony full-frame mirrorless cameras. So that alone is going to be reason enough for some people to get this lens. Again, my biggest issue is the size, and I can see this being a real problem for some people who got into the mirrorless game for the form factor. But this is a quality lens. Sony definitely sacrificed form factor for image quality here, and while I'd rather it would have been smaller, I'm very happy with this lens. Anyways, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to leave a comment, and I will get back to you. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. This video was a lot of fun to make, and I will definitely be making more like it. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.